2024 is coming to an end. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish everyone a happy new year. I also want to apologize for some of my previous videos. Unfortunately, these haven't been the easiest times for me, but maybe I'll share more about that in a separate video. For now, let's celebrate the transition to 2025 with a comprehensive review of all the leaks, hints, events, and everything else that might await us in Episode 5. What's really going to happen in Episode 5? With every new episode, we're getting deeper into who these characters truly are. The pilot didn't give much away, but Episode 2 showed us the real Pomni. Episode 3 was all about Kinger and Zubal, and Episode 4? It hit us with the big reveal about who Gangle really is. But Episode 5? It's all about the most controversial character right now, Ragatha. Gooseworx hinted at this a long time ago, and from the early season 1 announcement we already know the new setting is going to be a stadium. Judging by the renders, it's pretty obvious it'll be baseball themed. Even the opening scene of Episode 4 gave us a little sneak peek of what's to come.
Wind your arm backwards in a big circle, release right at the bottom, and follow through. You got that?
You're wasting your time, Raggy.
Just wait a second.
Like this?
Yeah, you got it. Jax!
I actually didn't mean to do that.
Are you all right, Gangle?
Oh.
Why do you always gotta do this?
What? I just said it was an accident.
Unbelievable. You are...
There are only 2 characters in the digital circus who know how to play baseball, Jax and Ragatha. This bit of info will be important in the second part of the video. One of the most intriguing topics is the release date. As I've mentioned in one of my previous videos, we won't see new episodes before April. Gooseworx indirectly confirmed this, and another one of her posts backs it up. The funny thing is, there's no mention of Episode 5 there, but I feel like the animation process will kick off in the next 1 to 2 weeks. This means we're about 4 months away from the new episode. The only reason Episode 4 was released so quickly is that Episodes 3 and 4 were developed simultaneously. And of course, the key phrase for Episode 5 is, haha, which, honestly, is a bit of a letdown. It's so vague that it could mean anything. It could hint at a wildly funny episode, which I highly doubt, and I'll explain why in a moment. Or maybe it's a sarcastic jab at one of the characters. One thing I can say for sure is that this so-called teaser is accurate. After all, the key word for Episode 4 perfectly captured its essence.
Huh? Oh, she's flirting with the gummy guy, 'cause she'd rather be with an NPC than with us or something.
Why would you do this?
It's called a manic episode, and you're getting 3 more seasons. Anyway.
In one of the posts, we were teased with a line from a random character, and it goes, "Democracy sucks." Now this is where things get even more intriguing. Remember when I said only Jax and Ragatha know how to play baseball? Well, this line belongs to one of them. So, who's the lucky one? Drop your guesses in the comments. A key detail about the upcoming episode is something entirely new for us. For the first time, all the characters will participate together in a new adventure, which we can call Digital Games. This is exciting because we have no clue how they'll interact as a group, especially since in past adventures, something always happened that left only 5 characters in the spotlight.
Zuby?
Yeah, no.
Oh, I know. I could sit this one out, and Zubal could take my place.
What? That's not how that works.
Now, let's dive into our long-awaited Episode 5. By now, you're probably tired of me talking about who knows how to play baseball, but considering there are only 2 characters with those skills, it's highly likely they'll act as player coaches in a simplified version of the game. After all, the digital circus characters don't even have enough players for one full team. But hey, that's where the versatile mannequins come in. These guys can do it all. Scare a character, cheer wildly at their arrival, or even completely shift our perception of a character through the consequences of their actions. And now, circling back to that mysterious phrase, it's becoming clear that it was likely Jax who said, "Democracy sucks," when the other characters voted him as one of the team coaches. As we've seen in previous episodes, every new adventure leads to the group being split into 2 teams.
You, me, and Pomni will go check on Kaufmo, which leaves Crybaby and Hoo-Ha together to go handle the Zubal situation.
Episode 4 was a bit of an exception since everyone stayed within Spudsies, but even there, we could say only Zubal and Ragatha were truly working as a team. Now, the sports-themed episode has to introduce an element of competition between 2 teams. Considering Kinger has never directly interacted with Zubal during an adventure, and let's not count that pilot episode scene where Zubal was more of a target than a participant. While everyone else has already had that chance, I'm pretty sure the first team, along with the mannequins, will include Jax, Kinger, and Zubal. And let's be honest, this setup is bound to be hilarious. Jax and Zubal have been at odds since the pilot episode.
If there was a way to leave, I'm pretty sure we'd have all left by now.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
How about an adventure where Zubal gets turned into a piñata and we all take turns beating them up?
That one's mine.
Who would have guessed?
And as for Jax's opinion of Kinger, well, you already know all about that.
So what was it like being stuck with the nutcase?
It wasn't that bad, actually.
Just don't be mean.
We've been stuck here for years. Old Kinger over there's supposedly been here the longest.
Oh, did someone say something about an insect collection?
That's why he's crazy.
In that case, the second team will consist of Ragatha, Pomni, and Gangle, and this setup promises to be truly fascinating. While the first 3 episodes led us to believe Ragatha was the only genuinely kind character in the digital circus, certain scenes, especially her obsessive drive to gain Pomni's approval, planted seeds of doubt about her true intentions.
There she is. Hope you're doing all right. I know yesterday was a bit of a doozy.
Doozy.
Oh, and don't worry about the whole abandoning me for the exit thing. It's perfectly understandable what you were going through at the time, and there's no hard feelings. You're all good. Well, let's forget about all that. Kane's got a new adventure today, and judging by what he's been teasing, it seems like it's gonna be a fun—
One of the teasers released after episode 4 revealed a notebook where Gangle loves to draw, and that one drawing turned everything upside down. Ragatha is missing from it, but why? The answer lies in the conversation between Pomni and Gangle, which became the key foreshadowing for episode 5.
Do you have anybody to talk to? Like, in regards to your issues? I'm sure Ragatha would like to help you out.
Oh, Ragatha. I love her, but after a while it gets kinda hard to tell how genuine she's actually being.
In episode 5, we'll witness the beginning of a full reveal of Ragatha's true personality, and something tells me we're not going to like it. Excluding the eccentric Kinger, Ragatha is the oldest resident of the digital circus, which made her somewhat juvenile behavior feel odd. However, as I mentioned earlier, this is likely tied to some personal goal of hers. Episode 4 has already started to shed some light on who Ragatha really is.
Packages landing on my head, tea parties, dancing lessons. No offense, but you're kind of annoying when you have your happy mask. Yo, Jax. I hate you, but I don't want you to hate me. Is that weird?
So in episode 5, we're likely to see the continuation of Ragatha's reveal. She has nothing left to hide since everyone already knows who she truly is, and the role of a coach fits perfectly for this, as it will be interesting to see how the real Ragatha behaves when her team is losing. Will she encourage her players as she usually does, or will she snap and start shouting and insulting Pomni and Gangle? That's definitely an intriguing question. Additionally, I noticed the connection between Ragatha and Jax. Their episodes are placed next to each other for a reason, and something tells me that Jax might actually be a more complex character than we first thought. He's not just about mocking others and cracking jokes. Episode 4 gave us a glimpse into a different side of him.
How you doing?
Everything's been... I'm doing fine.
Wish I could say the same.
Jax, there's dishes back here. You got time to lean, you got time to clean.
God. I'm on it. Later, Pomni.
And maybe in episode 5, Jax will seem like a normal guy, but based on the description of his episode, this won't last long, because for Jax, being normal is complete boring. Gooseworx has been particularly active over the past few days, addressing many questions, including those about episode 5. For convenience, let's call these answers leaks or teasers. One of the most shocking leaks revealed that episodes 5 and 6 will share the spotlight between Jax and Ragatha, not in the initially assumed format, but rather with both episodes equally focusing on these two characters. This suggests we're in for something truly fascinating, as it means we'll see both Ragatha and Jax progressively unfold in parallel. Gooseworx also confirmed that things will only get better moving forward, with episode 5 being the last of the lighthearted and fun episodes before everything descends into chaos. Given the description of episode 6, I completely believe this claim. Gooseworx also shared a few lines of dialogue that will appear in episode 5. While some are unmistakably from Ragatha and Pomni, the phrase, "Was that a reference to something?" remains a mystery I'm determined to solve. Even though episode 5 will focus on both Ragatha and Jax, I believe slightly more attention will be given to Ragatha. just as episode 6 will likely focus more on Jax. However, the most thought-provoking reveal is Gooseworx's hint about Ragatha's fate after episode 5, which by all appearances seems to be somewhat tragic. Actually, I still have a lot of work ahead of me to piece everything together and present you with a complete picture, which I think will only happen after the new year. For now, though, I'd like to discuss one persistent topic about episode 5. As you know, everyone is eagerly awaiting the new episode and trying to predict its release date. Over the past week, I've seen countless videos claiming that the new episode will drop in January or February. Of course, this is done for short-lived hype, but I'd like to completely debunk these baseless predictions and give you a more realistic release date for the upcoming episode. And after that, we'll dive a bit deeper into episode 5 itself. User Evie asked Gooseworx, "I saw someone say episode 5 will be in January. Is that true? If so, where did they get that info?" As we remember, about a month ago, IMDb listed January as the release date for episode 5. Even back then, I said January 1st seemed way too unrealistic and was probably someone's idea of a bad joke. Well, now we've got official confirmation. Gooseworx revealed, animation hasn't even started on 5 yet, so there's no way. This isn't just sad, it's a downright brutal announcement. If we draw parallels between the timeline for the pilot and episode 2, and then episodes 3 and 4, which released on December 13th, and now episode 5, which hasn't even entered production yet, we can assume its release could take around 6 months. That means summer 2025. Alright, maybe we won't actually have to wait a full 6 months for the much anticipated sports-themed episode, but it's safe to say 2 months is also way too optimistic. So, how long will we have to wait? Don't worry, you'll get your answer soon. For now, drop your guesses for episode 5's release date in the comments below. Oh, and one more thing. The next episode is going to focus on Ragatha, who we've always associated with being kind-hearted and cheerful.
There she is. Hope you're doing all right. I know yesterday was a bit of a doozy. Oh, and don't worry about the whole abandoning me for the exit thing. It's perfectly understandable what you were going through at the time, and there's no hard feelings. You're all good.
However, her actions and words in episode 4 completely destroyed the reputation she had been building for an entire year, all in just 30 minutes.
Why are you even the boss anyway? I feel like I'm way more responsible than you.
A team works much better when we're all giving it 110% instead of, 5.
No offense, but you're kind of annoying when you have your happy mask.
Let's talk about what might happen to Ragatha and some of the other characters in the upcoming episode, but I'll save that for later. For now, let's solve the mystery of episode 5's release date. This topic is currently blowing up on Reddit, and one user shared this theory. This means that the episode probably won't get released until April-May, 4 to 5 months, because that's usually how long animation takes for an episode. However, I'd be okay with that since it's presumably a sports episode, so releasing it during spring-summertime would be perfect. Another Redditor agreed, but suggested a slight adjustment to the timeline. Honestly, that makes sense. I'm happy to wait. I'm glad they are pacing themselves and not rushing. I think your May theory makes sense. It could even be March. Anyway, that gives us a lot of time to rewatch the episodes and watch more shows, and also watch and support other indie shows, especially those featured in Glitch X. Of course, not everyone was on board with this initial comments timeline. 4 months is actually quite long. On average, most indie studios take about 2 to 3 months. Unless they're starting to work on Gaslight District, we might get episode 5 by March. Now, here's my take on the situation. I'd have to say I agree most with Sprout Cat. Waiting until May, let alone summer, seems highly unlikely. The long gap between the pilot and episode 2 can be attributed to one key factor: the higher priority of murder drones at the time. While Glitch has publicly stated they don't care about view counts, which I think is only partly true, there's no denying that Glitch prioritizes its flagship projects. Back then, murder drones was their primary focus, so even though the amazing digital circus performed phenomenally, it was still second in line. Now things are completely different. Not only is the amazing digital circus their top priority, but its viewership numbers are absolutely skyrocketing compared to any other Glitch show during their respective releases, especially when you consider the somewhat murky status of Gaslight District, a project with an uncertain timeline or even an uncertain future. It's clear that waiting 6 months again is off the table. On top of that, Gooseworx now has access to significantly larger financial resources. This means they can hire more professionals to speed up production and post-processing for the next episode. When you factor in all of this, the predicted 3 to 4 month timeline no longer seems unreasonable. So we're likely looking at a release in March or April for the sports-themed episode. Considering no one wants to lose momentum or money, and the creators now have the budget to deliver high-quality work in a shorter time frame, late March to early April seems like a very realistic window. And as many Reddit users have pointed out, releasing a sports episode during the perfect spring weather would feel symbolic and well-timed. What do you think of my projected release date for episode 5? Now, let's dive into some of the events that could unfold in the upcoming episode. The main character of the upcoming episode will, of course, be Ragatha, as Gooseworx officially confirmed about 6 months ago. As I mentioned earlier, in episode 4, Ragatha completely shattered the impression we had of her. And what made it especially unsettling was the fact that she finally started telling the truth.
Cool, that's 6 out of 300.
Ugh, you are such a grouch. Why are you always being a grunch?
What? Ragatha, where's Pomni?
Huh? Oh, she's flirting with the gummy guy, 'cause she'd rather be with an NPC than with us or something.
Since the new episode can be characterized as digital games, it's highly likely that Ragatha will take on the role of a ref. This will finally give us a chance to learn who she truly is and how she feels about the other residents of the digital circus. Another key figure on the chessboard of the upcoming episode will be Jax, who has changed significantly since his initial appearance. Think back to his behavior in the pilot and the second episode.
Ladies first. No, wait, why would I say that? You're violating my ears with your clapback. Get driving, driver.
When we catch up to them, we could...
Gotta be assertive. Like this!
Jax!
In the third episode, Ragatha and Gangle managed to calm Jax down a bit, planting the seed of doubt in the idea of his unshakable confidence. Then, the fourth episode solidified the fact that Jax is actually quite easy to break. All it takes is making him as uncomfortable as possible. While he appeared his usual self at the beginning of the episode, his final scene completely blew my mind.
All right, I'm clocking out. This wasn't fun at all. See you all later.
Recalling Gooseworx's leak, we can assume that episode 6 is going to be complete chaos, and even the one word used to describe it confirms this entirely. Taking into account one of Gooseworx's spoilers, it's clear that Zubal will get plenty of screen time in episode 5, as episodes 3 and 4 have already backed up Goose's words. Meanwhile, Pomni will keep trying her hardest to embrace the digital circus, and based on episode 4, it seems like she's starting to succeed.
If you want to get out of here, you can. You don't have to be stuck here alone. I can handle closing.
As for Kinger, it's tough to say much about him. Not only is his backstory fully revealed, but he was also absent from the adventure in the last episode.
Oh, I know. I could sit this one out, and Zubal could take my place.
What? That's not how that worked.
However, based on all previous adventures, characters always work in pairs, and episode 5 will likely follow the same pattern, especially since games like rugby or basketball require teamwork. In the pilot episode, Kinger was initially paired with Gangle. In episode 2, everyone except Pomni and Zubal teamed up. In episode 3, Kinger interacted with Pomni. So episode 5 might showcase a team dynamic between Zubal and Kinger. Considering Zubal's attitude toward Kinger,
What are you talking about? Man, I can't believe Kaufmo just gave up like that. I mean, no offense, Kinger, but I always thought you would be next.
Thank you.
Guess it just goes to show you can't rely on Kinger for anything.
it's bound to be fascinating to watch how their interaction plays out. How one leak from Gooseworx could explain the entire plot of episode 5. Watch until the end to find out. Ragatha has long seemed like one of the kindest and most positive characters in the digital circus, yet, unfortunately, she spent 95% of the time in the shadows. Almost no one paid attention to her until episode 4, after which her personality sparked incredible interest among the audience. And given that the upcoming episode will focus on her, the anticipation of what will happen to Ragatha in episode 5 only grows stronger. Spoiler, you certainly don't expect it. We'll analyze her behavior, the events surrounding her, and of course, her role and the full revelation of all her secrets in episode 5. Initially, all the attention was directed at Pomni, even in episodes where other characters were supposed to take the spotlight. Episode 4 broke this trend, meaning episode 5 might very well open with a scene involving Ragatha and Gangle, as hinted in the previous episode. This may seem unrelated until you consider that Episode 4 actually revealed the secret that Episode 5 would center around sports. Most likely, after her words and actions in Episode 4, we will witness Ragatha's deep remorse. After all, no matter what, she still wants to appear as a kind-hearted character. Episode 5 will gradually, through the lens of repentance, unveil the whole truth about Ragatha, who will have to earn forgiveness not only from Gangle.
Why are you even the boss anyway? I feel like I'm way more responsible than you.
A team works much better when we're all giving it 110% instead of, 5.
No offense, but you're kind of annoying when you have your happy mask.
But also from Zubal. Despite Zubal's willingness to help Ragatha, her memory of the disgraceful behavior that could have seriously endangered both of them still lingers.
I made like 5 or 6 of them.
Cool, that's 6 out of 300.
Ugh, you are such a grouch. Why are you always being a grunch?
Throughout all the previous episodes, it seemed like Ragatha had chosen Pomni as her best friend. She went out of her way to help Pomni settle in during the pilot episode, did everything she could to lift her spirits in Episode 2, and continued her supportive behavior in Episode 3.
This place is spooky. I wonder how hard Kane's gonna go with the scare factor.
I hope this adventure doesn't end up being another horrible nightmare.
Scared of the vacuum cleaner too?
Hey, be nice to her. She's had a rough couple of days.
But despite the positive start of Episode 4, we finally learned what Ragatha truly thinks about Pomni.
Oh, she's flirting with the gummy guy, 'cause she'd rather be with an NPC than with us or something.
But even that isn't the main point here, is it? At some point, Ragatha and Pomni started feeling like a single unit, almost like a brand, and I would have bet anything that their relationship would only grow stronger over time. Of course, we haven't fully seen it fall apart yet, but the seed of doubt has already been planted in Pomni's mind, and there's no undoing that. Now, if there's someone I least expected to cause such a betrayal, it's Gangle.
Ragatha would like to help you out.
Oh, Ragatha. I love her, but after a while it gets kinda hard to tell how genuine she's actually being.
And judging by Pomni's increasingly detached attitude toward Ragatha after this, it really makes you think about the cracks forming in their relationship. This leaves Ragatha with 3 characters in her circle who either don't fully trust her or hold some small grudge against her. A significant portion of Episode 5 will likely focus on unpacking Ragatha's behavior, whether it's through her actions or words. We don't know for sure just yet. At some point, it might have seemed like Ragatha was actually the villain. I even made a video on that theory, but after some reflection, I realized the root of Ragatha's issues lies elsewhere entirely, and that will be the crux of Episode 5. Remember this key takeaway: Ragatha is not the villain. Episode 2 serves as a sort of gold standard for understanding Ragatha's behavior. It gave us a glimpse into almost every aspect of how she handles different stressful situations. Plus, it featured one of the most mysterious scenes in the entire amazing digital Circus universe. I spent a long time puzzling over its meaning, and now it ties back to the so-called leak we mentioned earlier in this video. Gooseworx teased on Twitter, people getting attached to this evil version of Ragatha is going to make Episode 5 so much funnier. It's a cryptic statement, but it might refer to Ragatha's deceptive mental state. Episode 5 won't just be about some evil Ragatha, it's going to dive deeper into her character. We'll finally see that despite all her seemingly genuine kindness and positivity, Ragatha is the most mentally unstable character in the digital Circus. This idea is backed up by hints from the pilot episode, particularly in one dorm hallway scene. At first, Ragatha behaves exactly as we've come to expect from her.
Even though we don't really need to sleep, it's sometimes nice to kind of take a break from everything and have a bit of a routine, you know? I'm sure there'll be one for... Oh, look, you already got one.
And then, chaos begins to unfold in her mind.
Crazy. And eventually you get to asking what the point of anything is, and you completely lose sight of who you are and why you're even alive, and when you reach your breaking point, something really terrible can happen.
Now we've gradually unraveled the part about Ragatha's mental state in Episode 5. But let's not forget about that so-called leak, which becomes clearer once we dissect her mental state. We've come to understand that Ragatha will be deeply unsettled by her actions in Episode 4. At the same time, she'll be doing everything she can to regain the trust of the other characters. Considering her special bond with Pomni, her top priority will be to hear the words spoken during one of the final scenes of Episode 3.
Thanks for always being concerned about me. I feel like through everything. I haven't really been appreciative enough about that.
That darker side of Ragatha serves as a reminder that within this character, two personalities are constantly at odds. One part of her genuinely wants to help, while the other is terrified of everything happening around her and does its best to hide it. This inner conflict will undoubtedly influence her actions in Episode 5. As I've mentioned before, Episode 5 is set to be sports-themed, and we've already dubbed it Digital Games. Pretty catchy, right? Even though, with a 99% probability, the entire episode will revolve around just one sport, baseball. There are two theories about Ragatha's role in the game. She could either be a coach or an umpire. That's what a referee is called in baseball, for those who didn't know. I have a feeling that the role of a coach will perfectly reveal Ragatha's personality, because only in such a situation will we truly see who she really is and how she reacts when something doesn't go her way. After all, any sports competition is filled with passion, and passion reveals a person's true face. To add more intrigue, Kane, inspired by the idea of motivation after a conversation with Gangle, might introduce some sort of prize fund that the characters would find very appealing. But remember what I said. Ragatha also needs to figure out and resolve all her issues with the other characters, and doing that during the game itself is nearly impossible. That's why practice sessions exist, where she could talk to each character one-on-one, and then we'll finally determine who Ragatha truly is. A kind-hearted character who can be trusted, an insecure woman hiding something, or perhaps just a regular hypocrite concealing something truly awful behind a mask of kindness. In any case, we'll need to wait for the new episode to know for sure. However, I feel that Episode 4 was, strange as it sounds, a breath of fresh air for Ragatha, and her words to Jax confirm it.
Yo, Jax. I, hate you, but I don't want you to hate me. Is that weird?
You're drunk or something.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe she's not the most positive character, but she clearly enjoyed simply being herself rather than trying to please everyone. And I respect and value that. I once again, really hope that in Episode 5, Ragatha will truly open up to everyone and show who she really is without any pretentious masks. And now, it's time to say goodbye. See you next time.